Hello everyone, Ted here. Welcome to another video here on SkinClub. It's a new week, another topic that I have thought really carefully about. I wanted to choose something that is a little bit maybe I don't want to say evergreen, but a bit of a broader topic in comparison to the last couple times when we were talking about specific events or specific tournaments rather, and yeah, specific results and a team performing well at an event, expectations. Now we're looking at a different topic, and one that I think has been heavily overlooked throughout the last couple of months. It was something that caused a lot of chaos, I guess, at the start when it happened, or not a lot of chaos, but a lot of commotion. But then a couple weeks went by, a couple months went by, and a lot of people are starting to forget about it. So now I'm going to give you my opinion on what is going on with that specific thing. And yeah, we're going to have a bit of a recap. I'm going to introduce a player to you that you've definitely heard the name of, but you probably forgot in the last couple of weeks actually is where he is. We're talking about Nilo. We're talking about the 20-year-old Swede that Heroic picked up at the start of the year, that was supposed to be a part of the main lineup of Heroic, but ended up just being moved to the bench and well, listed as a substitute officially, and not playing a single official game with Heroic. So we're gonna go through Nilo's career. We're gonna go through my personal experience with covering Nilo, because I've been casting him since pretty much the day one of the start of his professional career. We're gonna go through what type of a player he is, what type of a profile he fits, how he could potentially fit into that Heroic system, and I'm obviously gonna give you my opinion on whether I think Heroic should make the move and actually free up a little bit of space for Nilo. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so how I want to start this conversation, first of all, we're going to do a brief introduction. For those of you that don't know, I'm gonna give you a quick introduction of what the story here is. So Linus Bergman is a 20-year-old, as you can see, Swedish player, started his professional career around 2020, 2021. He's played on some other projects, as you can see, in 2019 here as well. But in the end of the day, his real professional tenure started with the Young Ninjas. Around 2021, Nilo joins the Young Ninjas. That was the initial first iteration of the Young Ninjas, by the way, which started making some moves in Tier 2 Counter-Strike. I myself had the chance to cast them playing in Snow Sweet Snow and a lot of the other events that were going at the time. I think there was an event called Shadow League and whatnot. He played with guys like ZTR, like Fuzi, like Sapik, like Manon. The first two names you probably know really well. Sapik is right now playing on Johnny Speeds with Draken. Fuzi obviously on Wildcard, and then ZTR he's the in-game leader of Gamer Legion, and was on that main NAP lineup. I guess same for Fuzi in a way, even though he didn't get that big of a chance. But yeah, this is where it all started for Nilo. So the story here is Nilo at the start of 2025 got picked up by Heroic in a move that I personally really liked. He was looking like one of the brightest prospects in the Swedish scene. What happened there though was that apparently, as he joined Heroic, as they were going through a massive rebuild, a lot of the players were bought by the Falcons. He joins Heroic with Senpaias and with the trio of Xflout, LNZ, and Youngster that is coming in from Sanga. What happens then, though, is just a couple days after he's announced as the official fifth, Heroic announced the addition of Tinir as well, because Nilo had to take a break for personal reasons. Now, we don't really know specifically what the reasons are, right? And it hasn't been announced to the media what the reasons are, so we couldn't really discuss that as much. But apparently the story is Nilo gets brought into the team to be the permanent fifth. Then he needs to take a personal leave for a little while, and then Heroic go out with a stance saying that he will need to fight for a spot back on the team as they pick up Tinir from Gun 5, and the Belarusian just transitioned and transpired into being probably the best player on that Heroic team so far in 2025, which was a pretty surprising turn of events, and I imagine it was surprising for Heroic as well. So why is that really weird with Nilo, and why does that poke my interest a lot? So this is not the first time that Nilo's taken a break for personal reasons. First of all, this is where we should start from. Early on, when he joined the Young Ninjas in 2021, Nilo was already showing a lot of promise. He wasn't posting the same numbers that he was, and we're going to get to that in 2024 and 2023 and the years later. But even in 2021, the 9 months that he did spend with the Young Ninjas, he was showing a lot of promise as a lurk. He was showing that he's a really smart player. He was showing that he's really patient, and he knows how to be a star, but he knows how to be an anchor as well, because he's got the patience for it. And he had that patience 4 years ago when he was, what, like 16. So early on, struck me as a pretty intelligent player. Then in September 2021, something really surprising happened. Nilo made a decision himself to step down from the Young Ninjas Academy, with the reason being that he had to finish off his studies. So he takes 1 year of a break from Counter-Strike, from professional Counter-Strike. He's not playing any officials at that time, just to focus on school, just to focus on high school or whatever. And then in September of 2022, Nilo comes back. He's back with a fresh mindset, with new motivation, newly found motivation to play the game. And again, he's coming in. He's not looking like his own self initially, but then he starts playing better and better Counter-Strike as time goes on. Now, we go into 2023, and this is when a lot of the ex-Young Ninjas players, a lot of the Swedes that we already mentioned, guys like Zetjar, like Fozy, like a lot of the other guys, LNZ, Rolf as well was there at the time, I think. A lot of those guys are announced to have graduated, the Young Ninjas. So Nilo's out as a free agent, and he's looking for a new home. And that new home ended up being Metasport. Now, the reason I think Nilo is a player that deserves an opportunity here is because he was able to take 1 year off, come back, play for 1 year on the Young Ninjas, then go into Metasport, and gradually just show improvement. I feel like he is one of the few players that I think didn't start as a special player, at least when it comes down to the officials. I don't think early on people were looking at him and they were saying this guy is special. I think people were looking at him and they were saying he's solid. And every other game that you would look at Nilo, he would become gradually better and better and better and better. And you could tell that he's got a really high in-game IQ, and he's usually not the guy that you want to send him first. He's not a brawl type of player. He's the guy that you want lurking on the other side of the map, and he's going to find his own timings. And kind of, if you got to draw the reference with the highest level of competition, you describe him probably as a Robs type of player, I guess. Then he goes into Metasport, and then you're looking at 2023. 2023, Nilo's played 194 maps of Counter-Strike, averaging a 122 rating. And obviously 2023, he plays a little bit for the Young Ninjas, and then a little bit for Metasport. 2024, in my opinion, and this is the strongest year in Nilo's career, and it's not the strongest rating wise. 2023 is. 2024 is when Nilo plays only tier 2 Counter-Strike, higher level competition. He plays a couple higher level events as well. I'm pretty sure all of you remember when Metasport made it to Blast, and they were able to take a best of 3 off of the Falcons. That was a bit of a joke for everyone. Nilo plays 270 maps of Counter-Strike with 118 rating. So he's on the grind. He's on the tier 2 grind, right? Playing a little bit below 200 maps in 2023, a little bit below 300 the year after. He really is spamming officials, and he's gradually becoming a better and better player. And for those of you that have watched Nilo play, you would know that he's bringing a lot to the team. And as we spoke, don't mind all of that. It was a roster chaos in the side of Metasport in 2024. Nilo, as we said, is the type of guy that you would put in lurk spot on the T sides. You can tell that he's not the most aggressive of lurks either. Obviously, that is changing, and every now and then, I think especially towards the end of 2024, he was taking a little bit more initiative. So those 16% entry attempts don't really, I guess, reflect on the initiative that he was taking. But all in all, I think he was showing that he's growing up as a player, is what I'm trying to say here. And he was always finding ways to be really impactful. He is a rifle that works well on a team that has a lot of aggressive rifles, heroic, for example. He is someone that could fit in nicely when there's other guys like Plopskin, Adam B. were those guys on Metasport who run in first, go for a lot of aggressive plays, create a little bit of commotion so he can react on the back of it, right? He's not going to be the one to initiate first point of contact unless he's 100% sure to play, but he's really good at reacting to what's going on the other side of the map. And this is something that I really like about him. CT side-wise, again, as we pointed out, and you're going to see that some mixed roles on some maps, and obviously it depends on which team he ends up on, and if he goes back to Heroic, he can be adaptive, right? It depends on what style of a team you've got, what style of an in-game leader you've got. On a team like Metasport, where Plopskin and Adam B were both pretty aggressive rifles, Nilo did get some good positions. But then on some maps, he had to compromise as well to give a little bit of freedom to his teammates. And he doesn't have that issue compromising because, again, he's not that type of player that's got ants in his pants, which is a good thing to have, I guess, on a team, but you don't really need too many of them. So 2024 ends up being a really good year in Nilo's career. And then we go into 2025. This is the last time Nilo's played an official game on HLTV, and that was on the 22nd of December 2024. The reason I'm putting this out, the reason I mention all those numbers for the last couple of years, is because I think a player like Nilo is used to playing a lot of officials. And I think, for me at least, this is the only sure way that you're setting him up to try and fail. We've already seen how he is able to stay away from professional competition for 1 year and then come in and need a little bit of time and get sharper. My question here is, isn't that the worst thing that could happen to a 20-year-old guy that has a lot of potential? Answer, probably. It is the worst thing that could happen to someone in his position. So why is not Heroic getting him back on the team? Well, Heroic is not getting him back on the team because, surprisingly, they were able to build up a pretty good team without him. And it feels like that was the situation that Nilo was in at a second. He needed someone to step in for him. They pick up Tenier because apparently they were not sure and it was a bit of a last-second thing that was going on. And Tenier turns out to be, without a doubt, the best player. I would go as far as to say, and obviously Tenier's, I think, someone that is deserving of an entirely different video and probably even a VOD review. But Tenier, I think, is a tier 1 player in the making, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up being a top 20 player in the next couple of years. Tenier is a great player, and the thing is, he is a guy that you could give some more vocal roles and some more active roles on the CT side. He's also a guy that you could let lurk on the T side as well. So there is a little bit of a coverage there with the roles, and I feel like this is the primary thing that did stop Heroic from allowing Nilo back into the lineup after his personal reasons to be away were resolved or whatever, is because Tenier turned out to be that good. Now, with all the commotion and all the rumors about Heroic going for a lot of mass changes after the end of the season, which always is going to be out there, of course, for those of you that don't know, the names of some pies and so have been mentioned a lot with that G2 discussion. My question is, what needs to happen for Heroic to say we're willing to keep this man on the bench, or we'll try and sell him with a brand new contract for us to keep going the way that we have been? Or do we make a change? How good does the team need to be for us to decide Nilo deserves to stay on the bench? Now, do Heroic have good pieces right now on their team? They do. Could they benefit from potentially adding Nilo? Only time will tell. As of right now, there's 3 people on the server that could open up space for Nilo potentially. One of them is Tenier. I guess this is not really happening as a rifle. The remaining 2 pieces are XFlout and Youngster. Now, if you're looking for a way to make Nilo and Tenier work at the same time on the same team, I think you could have a little bit of a struggle. Someone will eventually have to compromise. One of them will eventually have to step in all those supporting roles that Youngster is. And sure, Youngster does get some active roles on some maps like Connector on CT side Anubis, for example. But I don't really feel like if you want to add Nilo, you can add him in the spots of XFlout, or if you add him for XFlout, then you need to make everyone else switch. So I think Tenier, XFlout, and LNZ are probably the sure thing to stay. Obviously, Nilo is not replacing some pious, right? So in my eyes, at least, unless someone goes knocking on Heroic's door and they say, hey, you know what, after the exceptional 6 months that Tenier has had with you, we want to give you the big money and we want to buy him out. I really don't see a world where Nilo steps in for anyone else than Youngster. And can I say that I would love to see Nilo in supportive roles? I'm not really sure. I think he's not the guy that is going to run in first, and he's not flamboyant, but in the same time, it could be a bit of a bullet to the knee, if you get what I mean. If you put a player like that in the spot here, because you're gonna have Tenier, XFlout, and Nilo, and LNZ, who's usually an in-game leader that loves being a little bit more involved. It suddenly feels like you have too many rifles that require a little bit of space to work. And you know how it usually ends. Someone has to compromise. Most of the time, more than one people have to compromise on different maps. You're trying to make everyone happy, but then at the end of the day, no one really is happy, and things don't really work out. So what is going on with Nilo right now? I guess we're just waiting for the end of the season to see. But on my personal radar, I think this is a player that could still play in tier 1, and I think he deserves a spot. on a team. I'm not sure where he could get that opportunity. I'm not sure if now with him not getting an opportunity on Heroic, people would think that he's too cold to get picked up by another big team. I wouldn't even be able to tell you which organization I think should pick up a player like Nilo right now, because things are really weird. But if you are, I don't know, G2 and you're willing to take a chance with someone like that, and you're going through a mass rebuild at the end of the season, and let's say you're leaving only Malps and Heavy God, why not give it a consideration? Why not think about it a little bit? I really don't know how I feel about this, because I am a big Heroic enjoyer, and I actually like what they're doing with this team, and I think there is a lot of potential there, but there is just something a little bit wrong about seeing a player like Nilo stay on the bench for so many months and be inactive, when that would make people just forget about how big his potential is. And I hope for a lot of the scouts and a lot of the assistant coaches and the main coaches out there that could potentially provide him with a way out, that is, given that Heroic are not freeing up a spot for him in the end of the season, which could happen as well. I really hope for those guys he's not going to be off the radar, because I think he still is a player that is really worth looking into. And throughout the last couple of years, his reputation as a player is a really non-conflict person, really calm, smart player, exactly the type of person that you might want to have on the team. Now, obviously, I haven't played with him, so we couldn't say what the communication is like unless you speak to some of his ex-teammates. But I don't really think there's been a lot of negativity spread around him in the space, which is usually a good sign. And with the individual skill obviously being there, and with him being just 20 years of age, I really hope he doesn't spend all the time until the end of the year on the bench. But yeah, I think that's gonna be about it. A bit more of an opinion piece, this one, on what is going on, and to just give you a quick update. Now, Heroic have been doing fairly good lately, so I guess it all depends on how they're gonna do at the major. I Am Dallas was a 7-8 finish after a loss to Aurora, which is a bit of a shame, because they did take down FaZe and Aurora as well, and they took a map off of Falcons, but they are playing good Counter-Strike, and that was their first big event. And I guess it all depends on how they're going to do at the major as well, to see if there's going to be any changes. But I wouldn't bank on Heroic failing miserably. I would say that maybe the opportunity would be if there's more than just some Pius and Saw being brought out from other organizations. That would free up space for Nilo. But yeah, make sure to let me know what you think about that. I honestly hope that we're going to see Nilo back in action as soon as possible, because I still think he's a really good player. I do like that Heroic lineup though, so sadly it probably feels like it would be really difficult to make it work with him. But yeah, make sure you leave me a comment. Let us know which player you think he could replace on Heroic, or if you don't think, like myself, that he should be going to Heroic, which team would you see Nilo fit in nicely, and which organization do you want to see show some interest in Nilo? Of course, you can do that in the comment section on YouTube, or if you're watching this on SkinClub, you can head over to Twitter, X, and tag me, tag SkinClub, and give us an answer to that. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to SkinClub as well for making this possible. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.